Hi everyone, and welcome back to our short videos on business studies. Today we are going to look at the second component of human resource management, or HRM, and the area that we're looking at today is recruitment. So as usual, we'll always look at a recap of the definition of human resource management, which is a strategic approach to ensure that the workforce of a company is properly managed and they become productive and competitive so that the organization can actually achieve their company's objective. Now, what does recruitment mean? Okay, so in a very simple word, it is involving the looking out or the sourcing, all right, the selection and the actual hiring of employees into an organization. So recruitment involves several processes, right? Before that, to identify or to find people, all right, and then to select them, and then to eventually hire them or to offer them an employment opportunity with the particular organization. And this is normally a lengthy process, and it normally starts with a workforce planning process that you have learned earlier, okay, to identify if there is an actual need to hire people, so that HR is then aware of how many people to hire, which equals to the number of vacancies to fill. Okay, now recruitment is also performed to hire replacements for employees who leave the organization or when there is labor turnover. So labor turnover here means when people leave the organization, right? When there's high labor turnover, it means there are many people who leaves a company, and when that happens, recruitment also comes into play, which means we look at finding replacements for those positions. So in a nutshell, that is what recruitment means. Okay, now let's look at the stage-by-stage process of a recruitment. Okay, the first thing is recruitment process starts when there is a vacancy. Okay, and when such vacancy arises, the next thing to do is to perform a job analysis. Right, this is where the HR personnel will actually sit with the particular department to identify what are the tasks involved, right, for this particular role. Okay, and once that is done, HR will look at performing or preparing a job description. This means basically taking the information used in the job analysis to proper it up into a proper document called a JD, or a job description. And inside this job description, it outlines the responsibilities, duties to be carried out by the employee. All right. And once that is done, inside the JD as well, there will be a section called person specification. All right. Not only we find out how or the task that is needed to be done by the employee, it's also crucial to identify the type of person that the hiring manager or the department that's looking for, people to work for them, right? What are they looking for exactly, right? So we look at the requirements, the qualifications, the expertise, the characteristics of the employee, right? So hence you would have seen some job description not only talking about the responsibilities, right? So if, let's say if it's a receptionist, then the JD would state about, picking up calls or entertaining inbound calls or making outgoing calls and things like that, but also the type of person. All right, someone with a pleasant personality who has completed their tertiary education, all right, who is a team player. So characteristics, qualifications, expertise is part of a person specification. Now, next to that, we would then have a complete job description with the person specification. Now, what HR can do is to advertise, okay, to advertise the particular job vacancy in the appropriate social media or on newspapers. Okay, for example, what do I mean by social media? Well, these days you find job vacancies on Facebook, right? And then there's a more professional site for, people who are looking for jobs would go to, which is LinkedIn, right? Or they may even post a shout out on Twitter. Okay, so this helps to attract people to actually know that there is a vacancy in so and so's company. Okay, now the next thing, once it's advertised, you could imagine the volume of applications coming in, right, for the HR personnel to actually go through each and every resume that arrives, all right, and to see whether it is suitable for the role that they have applied. And this is what we talk about when we say shortlisting. Not everyone who has applied for the job may be called in for an interview, right, because it depends on what they put on their paper and whether it, the content matches what the job is looking for and the requirements of the person. Okay. Now, after that thorough process of shortlisting, then the interview and the selection process happens. Okay, interviews are normally conducted by the hiring manager, all right, and HR in the same room to ensure that there is no biasness and there is another party there sitting in to observe how the interview is being carried out. And HR normally would ask questions as well during the interview to ensure that the employee is a well balanced one in terms of not just the skills that he or she is able to perform, but also in terms of personality and culture fit. Okay, now once the interview is completed, then we know HR and the hiring manager will sit and discuss with between each other about all the interviews that they have set forth between each and every candidate, and then they would identify the suitable one, and then the vacancy would be filled. Okay, so you may be asking, how long will all this take? It depends. For some companies it may take about a month to to advertise and hire someone and get them to join on board immediately. But for some companies it may take a minimum of 3 months to 6 months, right? Because in most cases when you offer someone an employment opportunity, they would have to actually serve notice to their current employers or inform them beforehand that they're leaving, and they would need to serve a few more months, right, to ensure that everything is properly coordinated before they leave their current company and move to a new one. So these may take time. Now let's look at a sample of a job advertising on social media. Okay, so normally you have pictures like this, right? We are hiring graphic designer, and there would also be a portion on a mention of where to apply. All right, normally there's a job link as you see in this picture here. And there are many ways to advertise a position. All right, you can use an external recruitment method, which is basically using a headhunter or a recruitment agency. A recruitment agency is a company that helps other companies find people, all right, to fill up their own vacancies. Okay, and then you can also advertise on local newspapers or specialist magazines or appropriate social media sites, right? So something like a graphic designer, you may find these advertisements online on Facebook and on LinkedIn, where you are trying to reach the right set or right set of demographics, set of people who would be looking at those sites and would be attracted to apply. Now, besides that, HR could also consider using an internal form of recruitment. Okay, so this is basically talks about finding people from the same company. Internal means within the same company. Why would they want to do that, right? Because sometimes, as you recall, before this I have mentioned about workforce edit and looking at the different skills in the same company. All right, so when there is such a need arising and you know that you have people in the company who may have the right skills, you can hire internally. This gives a sense of motivation to the people to apply, also perhaps a sense of job rotation, also increasing motivation, and also it's much cheaper in terms of hiring an external recruiter or advertising, right, where you have to do it outside the company and you spend a bit of money to do so. Right, so these are some other ways of advertising for a job vacancy. Now, I'm also going to show you a sample of a resume, because once you are applying for a job and HR receives your resume, you may want to know how that resume look like. So this is just a bit of a very cute resume here, But normally resumes would have a picture of yourself, right? Because you would want to tell people who you are, and most companies who want to know put a face to the words, right, to understand who you really are. So it should be a picture that is almost professional, almost presentable. All right, so as such as you see on the screen right now, a bit of description about the candidate and what are the skills she has. Also looking at her current and previous job experiences, and most candidates would actually sign on their resume to show that whatever they say is true. All right, so those are all added information that you can put in, but the crucial part of a resume would be their experiences, their background, their education, similarly to how you look at the job description and you look at the person specification, and what they're looking for should also be on a resume. All right, only and unless you do not have such requirements, then you'll not put it in that manner. Yeah. So this is a sample of resume received from applicants or potential employees. Now, next, let's look at a situation where a job interview is going on. Potential employees or candidates are attending job interviews. This is how a typical scenario looks like on a day-to-day basis in an actual corporate office. Yeah, so people may be sitting waiting outside while the interviews are going on, sorry, and normally the doors will be closed, not open, so you'll not be hearing the conversation between the hiring manager, HR, and the potential employee. Okay, now it's important to note that these days, with the arrival of COVID-19 and things like that, interviews are no longer, or most interviews are being conducted online, right, instead of face to face. Okay, so when I say online, it is using video conferencing methods via platforms such as Skype or Zoom, or even Microsoft Teams for that matter. Okay, so this means candidate can be interviewed from anywhere in the world as long as there is a stable internet connection, and this allows a more diverse variety of candidates trying to apply for jobs from different countries, different parts of the world, adding more variety or into the current workforce. Okay, this of course is important because you need to see the person that you're interviewing, and with these video conferencing methods you're able to see who they are. All right, and you're able to put the words into a graphical image, and you understand who this person is, and it also gives the opportunity of the employees to understand the company and who they are as well. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. We have concluded our short class on recruitment, and what are the takeaways? At the end of today's class, you should be able to know or identify what recruitment is and what are the stages or the steps involved in the recruitment process, as well as identifying the differences between a job analysis and a job description, right? Further to that, even though it's not mentioned here, you should be able to know the methods of advertising, internal recruitment versus external recruitment, how a sample of a resume looks like, okay, and job applications and so forth. So a bit of a nutshell, you should be able to pick up a thing or two from every slide in this video actually. All right, and I hope you were able to follow and understand the class so far. This shows that we are at the end of our class for today. Hope you're able to follow, and if you have questions, concern, my email address is on the screen right now, and do share this with your friends if you find it useful for you and you think that they would benefit as well. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day ahead.